hmTV matters.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Samantha Sosnik, and on today's podcast, Putting the Brakes on Bullying, my special guest today is the great Marty Lyons. How are you, Marty?
I'm doing great, Samantha.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you have a very busy schedule, and I really, really appreciate this. So I just wanted to let our viewers know a little bit about you, and then we'll go from there. I did a little research. I mean, I already know a lot about you because you happen to be my husband's favorite player of all time, and we are a Jets home, so I have a lot of background on you. So you were selected in the first round of the 1979 NFL Draft. You played for 12 years for the New York Jets.
Correct.
You were a member of the New York Jets Sack Exchange, the NFL Man of the Year in 1984. You were inducted into the New York Jets Ring of Honor in 2013. Yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct so far.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
After retiring, you became a radio analyst for the Jets for 22 years.
Correct.
Okay. And an amazing career, which I'm always been impressed with. But what I think I may be able to say that you would be most proud of is how you have helped many others through the Marty Lyons Make-A-Wish Foundation. Is
Correct.
that fair to say?
That is fair
Yeah.
to say.
Could you tell us a little bit about that and what brought you to want to do that?
Well, I started the foundation when I was still playing with the Jets in 1982. My oldest son, Rocky, was born on March 4th, and then all of a sudden on March 8th, my dad passed away of a heart attack, and then 2 days later, a boy that I was a big brother to died of leukemia on March 10th. So Keith was only 5.5 years old, and in a matter of 6 days, you go from the ultimate high to the ultimate low. And I was very fortunate to play college football at the University of Alabama with Coach Bryant. And I remember when I went in there to tell him I was going to drop out of school and get ready for the NFL draft, I shook his hand and he said, "Promise me one day you'll come back and get your degree." And I did that in 2016. But he said a winner in the game of life is the person that gives of themselves so others can grow.
Yes.
And when he told me that in 1979, it really had no meaning. But after the series of events in 1982, here was that thought that lay dormant for so long. And Coach Bryant was saying, "Hey, I prepared you for this." Mm-hmm. So I reached out to a teammate of mine, Kenny Shroy, and I said, "You know what? I'd like to put my name to a foundation. We'll help terminally ill children or children with a chronic life-threatening illness. We'll give them their greatest wish in life, make it become a reality." And here we sit 43 years later. We operate in 14 states. We've helped over 8,700 families, and we've raised over $44 million. Wow. So out of a complete tragedy that God threw out there for me to learn from, something good came out of it. 60% of the kids we work with, unfortunately, will not see the age of 18. And we do a lot of things different from a lot of the other WISH organizations, but I commend them all.
Yeah.
We're all out there to try to complement one another. We're not out there to compete. And we're just trying to create hope where sometimes hope doesn't exist.
Yes, I think that's amazing. And like you said, you had something that turned into something good, which I think all of us can learn from. I think that we all should be some sort of person that does good in the world instead of the opposite and taking away from somebody's joy and wanting to give someone joy and wanting to give somebody, especially children, that a lot of the times, like you said, it's a hopeless situation.
Yeah, well, the greatest adversity of life that any one of us, when we're all going to face it, is losing a loved one,
Yes.
Death. How do you deal with death? Because time doesn't stop for any one of us. It continues to move. And you have to be able to move with it. Otherwise, you're just stationary and you're cheating yourself out of life and you're cheating your loved ones out of life. But it's very difficult. And I think the one thing that the kids have taught me is to have faith in God and to believe in everything that you were brought up to believe in. And, if you have that faith, when you do die, you'll be rewarded. You'll get to see everything that you always believed in, and it'll be right there in front of you.
Yes.
And for those that you leave behind, it's a true test of whether they have that same type of faith.
Right, and a good legacy, which I know you definitely will leave. You know, you have a great legacy already, and all that you do is very commendable. Let me just go back to your early years, before the college story you just told us. When you were in elementary school, middle school, high school, did you find or did you see an exorbitant amount of bullying back then?
Well, back then, I think that, and there's bullying going on to every degree. You know, whether a child or a student sits in the back of the class and they try to isolate themselves. I don't think people do it intentionally, but I know it does happen. Matter of fact, I went back for my 25th high school reunion, and you're around the same guys, and everybody. Some of us left, some of us didn't. And there was a guy named Mike that walked in, and Mike was a very smart student and graduated with us, and used to have the old pocket protector, so when you put your pens in there, and he was a good athlete. And when he walked in, he walked straight up to me, and he said, shook his hand, and I said, "How you doing, Mike?" And he said, "I'm doing pretty good." He goes, you know, he had a wife that had MS, so he had other things on his mind also. But he said, "I just got one question for you." And at that time, you kind of think to yourself, okay, maybe he's asking about the NFL. Maybe
Right, of course.
what questions is it going to be? And he looks at me and he says, why were you guys so mean to me in high school?" And I looked at him, I said, "Mike, I don't think we were." He goes, "Well, you were. And I just want to know why." And I said, "Mike, I don't have any excuse." I said, "All I know is I'm not that same person that I was 25 years ago." And reached my hand out, and I said, "I'm truly sorry if we were." And he shook my hand and walked off.
Wow.
And I looked at the guys that were sitting there with me, and I said, "Isn't it a shame that he's been carrying that
Yes, wow.
for 25 years?" So I don't think that, you know, anybody does it with the intent to be mean, but it just comes off. And sometimes we need to put ourselves in their shoes.
Right.
And realize what they're going through in life and how we can make a difference, and how now I've learned that, you know, rather than trying to keep that individual isolated, try to become their friend and bring them out
Right.
of the darkness that sometimes they live
Yes, because we don't know what people are going through, and just one act of kindness or one kind word or just how you doing. You know, I have an older daughter with special needs that lives in a group home, and she, you know, is not on the same path as other children. Although she's happy, she does notice when things are different than her. And she's often said to me, "I just wish I didn't have these special needs." She was born with a syndrome. And she wants to do more sometimes that she can't do. And then my other daughter, my younger daughter, I always try to teach to her, you know, not everybody is going to look the same or dress the same or, you know, have the same likes, but everybody deserves to be treated with kindness, because we all have hearts and we all have souls,
Right.
and we all have, you know, feelings. And when you think that you're doing something to somebody and they don't, you know, may not notice it, like you just explained with this man you went to school with, he thought to come up to you and say that to you. That was the first thing he said to you.
Right.
So,
And he wasn't asking me questions about where life took me.
Right.
Wasn't asking me questions about his wife who has MS. He's been carrying that burden for 25 years. And I think everybody has to understand that to show respect, it doesn't cost you a dime.
No.
It doesn't cost you anything to go out of your way to hold the door open, say a kind word, because, you know, working with the kids again, a lot of them may be in a wheelchair. They may have had a brain surgery where now they have a scar. And, you know, if you don't take time to go up and meet them, and you don't take time to talk to them in their world, that's another day where they're invisible.
right.
And, you know, there's only a certain amount of days that they want to be invisible before they actually, you know what, they're stuck there.
Yes.
So
That brings into my next question. Have you ever, of all the children you've done these wonderful things for, have you ever heard of any stories that they did suffer from any bullying?
well, I don't. Again, I'm not going to use the term bullying. They
Right.
might have been isolated.
Okay.
There
Not
was
included.
a young lady named Lauren, and she was 17 or 16 when she passed away, and she had a brain tumor. But whenever I went to a high school, and I was there to talk to an assembly about bullying and how it affects people, I would bring Lauren with me, and Lauren would talk to the kids. And Lauren would explain that, okay, I just went for my treatment, feeling pretty good. I go back to school. I'm sitting at the same lunch table, and everybody kept walking by, finding another table. They wouldn't sit with her. And she said that was the day that she realized that she was invisible. But to have a 16-year-old talking at an assembly, this is one of theirs. This is somebody that could be in the class with them. And you wouldn't believe the barriers that Lauren was able to break down before she passed away with all these different high schools that I would take her to.
That's incredible.
They were intrigued with her. They sat there after talking to her. What can we do to help you? You've helped us so much to understand what we're doing is wrong. Some of the stuff we're doing is right. So the other thing you learn when you have a child like you do, or you have somebody that has disability, they all have something to share with you
Yes,
if you take time to listen to them.
absolutely.
But too many times we go through life with blinders on, and if it's not in our world and if not affecting our family, I'll deal with it when it knocks on my doorstep.
Right.
You know?
Right, but if you're not there for others, who will be there for you if you're in the same situation?
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? And you know, it doesn't fit the profile, which I find to be, as a mother of an older daughter with special needs who has never had the experience of bullying, thank God, but my younger daughter has, and that involved her peers and the peers' mothers. It was a very bad situation. I don't need to get into right now, but it's amazing the lengths that people will go to have their own child rise up while they're pushing somebody else down. It's just,
Well, it's a perfect example. There's good in this world and there's evil in
Yeah.
this world. And, you know, we can't control it.
no.
Sometimes we have to just deal with stupidity.
Yes, thank
You
you.
know,
I agree.
and the guy told me there's no warranty on stupidity.
Right.
You know,
Exactly. And, you know, my fear is, and not, thank God, not with our daughter, when she had this experience, she only got stronger from it. But my fear for others is that sometimes they are isolated so much, or they don't have the right backing, or they don't feel there's a way out. And unfortunately, they get to the point where
Yeah.
they've taken
Their own
something too
life.
far in
Yeah.
their own life. And ironically, I was with someone yesterday discussing my podcast, and he told me of a story that his friend had lost his daughter who committed suicide to bullying. And it like stayed with me for hours. I didn't know how to wrap my head around that. It's so final, and it's so painful for me to think of someone that was in that much pain to go to those lengths.
right. But
know?
I think that too, that you have to have a relationship with your children.
Yes,
Where your children can come home and open up to you.
correct.
You know, you want to be your best friend to your kids.
Yes,
But you also want them to respect you as a parent.
correct.
So
There's a fine
you know,
line.
there is a fine line, and you know, I'm a father of 4. I have 3 boys and a girl, and 2 of my boys are doctors. Another one's an aerospace engineer. My daughter's a teacher, so they were all a lot smarter than I was.
Mm.
But when they had a problem, they knew that I had a rule. If you have a problem, you come tell me,
Yes.
and I will try to fix it.
Yeah.
But if I hear that you had a problem and I hear it from somebody else and they come and tell me, then I have a problem.
Right. Yes.
You know, come talk to me
right.
first.
Honesty and being direct.
And I
Yeah.
think it's like anything. We build the foundation for our children in a healthy environment in our house, and you make that house a home where it's filled with a lot of love, a lot of understanding, a lot of discipline, so that when they do get 18, they do go away to college, they're in a different environment, they know the difference between right and wrong. They're educated enough, and so are we.
Yes.
Because I tell my kids, there's nothing you're going to do that I didn't already do.
Right.
You know, I'm not the angel, but
Right.
I went through there, and I had 4 brothers and 2 sisters, a family of 7, and my dad was a retired police officer. My mom was a registered nurse. We went through 12 years of Catholic education. All of us went to the same school. So when I got to high school, I had already had 3 brothers and 1 sister, and now there was the same teachers. So the demands were greater on me because of the legacy my brothers had already created.
Right.
And I had a younger sister and a younger brother, which it was more difficult for them.
Right.
Because sometimes society judges you by your name
Right.
rather than who you are. And I think every person should find their own identity and be respected for their own identity and respected for their own opinion.
Yes.
You know, my daughter
That's what makes the world go round, right?
yeah, my daughter's a school teacher down there in Dallas, and it's very tough. And she comes home and she has, we get into arguments, and I keep telling her, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying you have an opinion and I have an opinion. Let's respect each other.
Right.
And let's listen. And then,
the way it should be.
you know, we can go on from there.
Yes, definitely. I have found when you talk about, when we were discussing your career, I have found, you know, sometimes when people are successful and they climb the ladder of success, people are not always exactly happy for them. Did you come across people that try to bring you down for the purpose of, you know, making sure, you know, whether it would be through rumors or through misinformation? Did you ever feel as you were rising up in your career in the NFL that you were experiencing any of that?
Not really, because I always surrounded myself with good people. And if somebody had a different opinion about myself, you know, I really just let it go in one ear and out the other, because
Right.
people are going to say things, people are going to do things, people are going to be jealous because of your success and where they are.
Yeah.
You know, what's that old saying? Misery loves company. Well, you know, I knew who I was.
Well, that's good.
And I knew when I started the foundation what it would mean. And when I retired in 1991, I had an opportunity to go back down to Florida or back down to Alabama, and I decided that, you know, I'm going to make New York my home. I couldn't walk out on all the volunteers and all the kids that we had helped, you know, in that period of time. And I went into broadcasting, and I learned how to be a broadcaster from the bottom up and worked my way up to spending 22 years in the radio booth with the Jets. And unfortunately, they only went to the playoffs a couple times, but you know,
I know we feel the pain.
yeah. But I explain to people, you know, football is just a game.
Right.
It's entertainment.
Correct.
Don't let it define who you are, and don't let a Sunday game define who you are going to be on a Monday through Friday.
Right.
You know, be bigger than the game.
Right. Right. Thank you for that. What do you, I know we kind of discussed it, but what are your thoughts? I mean, as a mom, like I said, of a almost 16-year-old, in our world now, it has become a very big epidemic. It's very, it's something that I just never expected to. I've always heard about it, but I never experienced it until a couple of years ago. But I never thought that it would get to this level. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media. I think it has a lot to do with these children that have phones. They hide behind the, keyboard. What is your opinion of, like, what I'm trying to say is you're well known, you're famous for your career. Not all athletes need to be looked up to, but I think you're definitely one of them. And I wanted to know what your thoughts are on how you can show others that are younger how to rise above this horrible thing that people do, young people face these days.
Yeah, I think you have to communicate with them. You have to be understanding, and you have to listen. Sometimes we learn more with listening than talking.
Right.
And the older you get, sometimes the more you want to give advice, you want to talk and talk and talk, and this is your problem, well, this is how you have to solve. Let them talk. Let them open up to you. I think a lot of people that struggle in life is because they have animosity and resentment inside, and they don't know how to get rid of it. And I tell people, you know what? You have to forgive yourself first. And then you have to open up to others and see if others will forgive you for the pain that maybe they caused or maybe you caused yourself. But it's all communication. And I think listening to our kids and making sure that they understand that you can tell me anything.
Right.
I
agree.
You can tell me anything, and we'll work through it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know what? If you need help, I'll get you help. There's certain things that I can help them with, and there's certain things I can't help them with. But there are trained educators out there, medical people, that they've given their whole life to go right down that lane to help whoever it is, whether it's a child or an adult, will get you help that you need. And it's not embarrassing to ask for help.
Right.
And I think that is that hurdle that we've got to get over with our kids. If you have a problem, it's okay.
It is okay.
We can get you to a therapist, and don't be embarrassed about it.
Right.
You know what? We don't have to advertise it. We don't have to tell people what we're doing, but accept it.
Right.
These people are trained. I'm not trained in that field, but I'll get you the help you need.
Right. Right. And so I know what we had. I'll never forget. I remember my husband was telling me that we were going to be going to the NFL induction for Joe Klecko when he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I thought, okay, like I'm not one to watch football on Sunday that much, but the whole element, the whole vibe there when I went, it really touched me. Your relationship with him, the speech you made, and both of you were very kind when I was pushing my way through to get a picture with my husband. And it brought me more, it gave me a better understanding of what it's like to be a teammate. And I found a lot of positive feelings that I got from someone that's not a football person. Even though I hear it going on all the time on Sundays, I just felt that it was just, it warmed my heart, the relationship you had with him and the way you spoke. And it just gave a nice humanity vibe to your career.
Well, thank you. But just because you're a professional athlete doesn't give you the right to think that you're better than anybody else. Joe, when I first came in the league, he took me underneath his wing. Mm-hmm. He said, you need to get stronger. I'm going to be playing alongside of you for a long time, and you don't leave this complex till I leave.
Right.
And right then and there, I knew I had a friend.
Yeah, that was a great
Joe and
stories.
I built a relationship that when he retired, there was a piece of me that was sad.
Yeah.
And I knew that the way they treated Joe, one day that would happen to me, and that happened to me in February of '91, and I accepted it. And now Joe, since he left the game, he became a devoted Christian and dedicated his life to God and dedicated his life to understanding the Bible. And now we go on trips, and first thing is, well, what do you think about the Jets? That takes about 10 seconds to talk about,
Oh, sadly.
Then we talk about our kids, and then we talk about the grandchildren. And then we'll start talking about the Bible, and Joe will start explaining things. And there's things that, certainly we disagree with, but you know what? It's just a special friendship that that you always have somebody that you love.
Yes.
And he's
wonderful.
always going to be there.
That's great. I'm so happy. You could feel it when we saw that.
Yeah, he's one of those people that, he'll sit there and sign autographs. He'll make sure you walk around and you touch the lives of kids. and you set a good example, because you never know, if you don't sign an autograph, that child's going to feel like you missed out.
Yeah.
If you do sign it, that kid's got something special to
Yes,
carry the
he
rest
does,
of his
for
life.
sure. Really appreciate you being here.
Oh,
It's a
Samantha,
pleasure
my
always to be
pleasure.
with you and talk to you. So thank
My
you again.
pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. I'm Samantha Sosnik with the great Marty Lyons, and please tune in and have a great afternoon.